Yes, we are live and welcome back to Marketing Adventures with Carmel. I nearly forgot the name of my own show there for a moment. Where we bring some amazing business owners and business builders and exceptional, and I really want to harp on that because they are exceptional entrepreneurs who have overcome hurdles and now have some expertise in certain areas that we bring that will help you if that's something that you're stuck with. We also bring you some tips, tricks, and insights from these amazing entrepreneurs so that it can help you grow. I mean, why reinvent the wheel at the end of the day? So if you're watching this on social media, remember, as always, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, give us a question. Myself and my beautiful guest will answer those today if you're live. If not, we'll answer them as they come in. If you're on YouTube, of course, hit that subscribe button so that you get alerted next time there is some videos as well. So today we're going to be talking about why setting goals doesn't work and what to do instead with the amazing Maya Zack, all the way from the UK. Hence, we're in the afternoon. Welcome, Maya.
Hi, Carmel. Hi, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So let me introduce you properly instead of just saying, hey, here's Maya. Maya is a peak performance specialist and an expert mindset coach and hypnotherapist. So I'm going to close my eyes now. Based in the UK, but she does work internationally, mainly with women entrepreneurs. So Maya helps business owners, leaders, and teams free themselves from that mental and emotional habits and blocks that prevent them from experiencing more success or slow it down. Excuse me. So Maya has developed her own unique mindset makeover programs for aspiring as well as already established entrepreneurs, reprogramming their minds for success so that new habits and behaviors quickly become automatic and effortless. And I think that's really important. Maya believes it's so important to our lives, joy and fulfillment to be doing what we love and daring to go for it regardless of the outcome. I love that. Maya, tell us a little bit about Maya and how she has got to here.
Great. So again, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I've been a coach and a hypnotherapist since around 2007, 2008, something like that. I started out as a hypnotherapist, and then shortly after I qualified, I discovered the amazing Sedona method. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I actually have.
Okay, great. Yes, it's a very personal, very quickly to say that it's a very powerful personal development tool. It's all based on the idea of freedom and that you are completely unlimited other than by holding on to stories. And it gives you a tool for dropping and letting go of these stories. So I discovered that, and then I found that these two tools work amazingly powerfully together. Because with Sedona method, first you can just kind of clear yourself out of all the unnecessary stuff and things that you've been holding on to and all sorts of baggage and programming that's not useful. And then once you're in that kind of state of just empty space, that's the ideal state to be in to bring in new programming with hypnosis, which no longer has any kind of blockages or resistances that you need to deal with. So anyway, I started off with that, and then I was helping different people from different walks of life with different things. It was mainly focused around anxiety and confidence issues. And then when I did a master's degree in hypnosis, and for that I had to do experimental research, and I chose to do my research because this was my big plan to conquer the world with helping with helping students at universities to reduce their anxiety and do better at university. At the time when I was doing my master's, there was a lot of talk in the UK about students and their mental health and how they were struggling, and there was all this pressure. And that's what I wanted to do. So I did a research to see how hypnosis can help these students, and it was very effective. However, once I was finished with that and I wanted to take hypnosis into universities and start to offer it, and obviously, I say that I want to help students, lowering their anxiety so they can do better on their studies and exams. But really, it was about empowering young people, because I really believe that it's just so important. And it's just stuff that we don't learn ever, in the education
absolutely.
system.
It's not taught in schools. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really what I wanted to do. But I found that there was still a lot of misconceptions around hypnosis. And even though mindfulness had already become quite big in the UK, and they were already using it in many places, including educational institutions, then they were just not open to hypnosis yet. I guess it just wasn't the right time. So then I thought, okay, well, this is not working. So I have to, find another way. What do I want to do with this? And then that's when I kind of started focusing more, because I was already having clients from the business world, but I started to focus more and more on that. And then I decided to work specifically with women entrepreneurs, because it's just really important to me to be empowering women in particular. I'm sure I don't need to tell you or your women viewers how, imbalanced the world is. So I really feel that there's a real need for that. And I also, I'm really passionate about helping people to really do what they want.
What made you decide, was there some trigger or something that went, you know what, I just want to focus on women. This is important. This is where I belong. How did you decide that?
Well, first of all, it's always been really important to me to, like I said, empower women. And also I come from well, this is not necessarily related to women, but just going a step back just for a second, the reason why I got into this kind of mind work to begin with was because I'm a bit of background story. So I'm half Israeli, half Canadian, and I grew up in Israel. And then when I was 18, I had to go to the military for 2 years, and I had no choice. And I was not at all happy about it. And while I was there and I was having a really hard time, I started getting obsessed with this idea of freedom, and counting the days, to this point in time when I would be finally free to go out and live my life and be an adult and make my choices and all that. And when I did come out, I realized that actually it wasn't really the army at all that was in my way of feeling not free, but it was really my own state. I did come from a bit of a traumatic upbringing, so I had all this, rage and fear and insecurities and all this, negative beliefs about myself, and I really, was really coming out of a state of self-hate, you could say. And it took me a while to get out of that, but I realized that it was very clear to me after I was released from the army, and so I thought, okay, I need to, if I want this, freedom, then I really need to just work on myself and change all this stuff and all these stories that I'm attached to and that I'm identified with. And I started asking myself this question: okay, what would happen if I lost my memory? Who would I be? And would I be limited by the stuff that is limiting me today? And then I realized that I would be free. And then, and it was a really disturbing thought to me, because obviously I can't just go out and lose my memory, right? But I can.
Well, you could.
But what I can do is I can drop my identification with it. Right. And then, and really, it was really disturbing to me that it could be that simple. Just drop identifying with it. So simple, but yet so hard. How do I do that?
Intellectually, we know these things. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's when I kind of started my sort of personal development journey and going into mind work and how, and I discovered self-hypnosis then, and I started doing all these things on myself, these exercises, which, it was gradual, but it completely changed me. And that's why I got into it in the first place.
Awesome.
So, but back to your question about women, I mean, I always really wanted, it was really important to me to empower women in particular, because of this imbalance and because of traumatic experiences that I've had. And then what happened after I finished this whole story with the university thing, then this opportunity just came into my lap, which was just perfect, because as I wanted to focus on business, I was offered the opportunity to be a mindset coach on an American-based marketing training program online. And this was specifically for people who were coming from a yoga background who wanted to start a yoga business online. And 95% of the students on that program were women. So it was just perfect for me, because it was mostly women and they were, in the beginning of their business journey. So I did that for a couple of years, and it just kind of affirmed, my focus really, and my passion for that.
Yeah, sometimes we fall into it, as I think I said to you before we even started this. I make videos, I do video editing, I make promo videos. Who knew I was going to make videos? It was never something I thought of a long time ago and said, oh, I'm going to grow up and make videos. But we take the opportunity sometimes, and it's just that one step in front of the other. And going into the army as a female possibly also gave you some connection to, gosh, I need to help more females. An awesome book that kind of relates to that is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
And he talks all about that. You can take everything, but you can't take this. And when you can master this, it makes a difference to everything. Yes. So it's awesome. So before we get into all this goal stuff, because that is an absolute, especially at this time of year, a treasure trove of, oh my God, where's all my New Year's resolutions gone? But just give us a brief overview of what the Sedona method is.
So the Sedona method is based on the idea of freedom, and like I said, it's on based on the truth that you are unlimited, other than by holding on to stories. So similarly to what I just said about my memory, what would happen? Who would I be without my memory? Right? Who would I be without my story? Yeah. So it's basically a tool for just dropping or releasing or letting go. Now I know that I'm sure you and your viewers have know all about the idea of letting go, but how do we actually do that? Yes. So it's one thing to understand that intellectually, but how do we do that on a deep emotional level? So this method gives you a really easy, really practical tool to do just that. And basically you can let go of any kind of whether it's negative thoughts in the moment, whether it's stories again, whether it's beliefs, whether it's attachments to things, really anything and everything, and not even, and it's not even just mental and emotional. You can literally even let go of sensations and physical issues as well. It's very, very powerful, and the way it works on a subconscious level, it dissolves resistance to things.
Yeah.
So by resistance, I mean any kind of wanting to change anything is a form of resistance, right? Because we want things to be different. So we are in a state of resistance towards what is, or what is here right now. And the thing is with resistance is that, well, first of all, as you experience that, then you're already creating some level of either tension or some kind of suffering, right? Because you don't want to be here, or you don't want things to be as they are. But secondly, another thing is that really the nature of everything, or the nature of everything that's alive, is to shift and move all the time. Everything is in a state of movement constantly.
Yeah.
Right. So when we resist something, if something comes into our experience that we don't want, or that that we don't enjoy, then our immediate reaction is to resist, to kind of stop it, from coming into our experience. But the thing is that when we do that, we're actually stopping it from its natural movement. So we're actually holding it stuck in place. And this is why I'm sure you've heard the saying, whatever you resist persists. Yeah. Right. So we're kind of like stopping it from moving and even pushing it further down inside of us. So with the Sedona method, what happens, and this happens completely effortlessly and just through the process, is that instead of resisting, we actually welcome it into our experience. And paradoxically, we achieve what we want, which is that thing just shifting and moving right out of our experience.
Yeah.
So that's what
I have heard of it, but I'm not completely familiar with it. But I have heard it mentioned somewhere in the back of my subconscious.
And the way it
Cool.
works is just ridiculously easy and ridiculously simple. It's just a process of question as you would focus on the thing that you want to be freer of. And I would just take you through a process, and all you have to do is just answer yes or no, and that's it. And things just drop on their own. It's just
Wow.
ridiculously easy. I absolutely love this method. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, as opposed to hypnosis, and I'm obviously very passionate about hypnosis and what it can do for you, but it still requires you know, some time and some effort and practice if you're doing this on your own in order to, you know, get the most benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Similarly to meditation, you know,
Yeah.
but with the Sedona method, it's nothing like that. You just take it, whatever we might use in a session, you just take it, you use it, and it works, and that's it.
Wow. That sounds awesome, fascinating. So let's get to talking. I know when we first had a chat before this interview, we talked about this idea of goal setting. And, you know, a lot of the gurus will say, set goals, set goals, set goals. Well, a goal without kind of some action or plan is literally just an ideal anyway. But tell us about why setting goals doesn't work, and then we'll move into what we can do instead. So tell me why setting goals doesn't work in the first place, because everybody's sitting there going, I was gonna walk every day, or I was gonna lose weight, or I was gonna want to not drink anymore from January, and that's already out the window. So tell me about that.
Yes. So first of all, I think I recently read some statistics about goals, you know, just looking on stuff to do with the new year. And I was looking at that, and I think it was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was less than 10% of women who actually achieve their life goals. And, you know, this is very, very low. I know that in terms of business, and I don't have the numbers with me, but again, the numbers are very low for people who want to set up their own business or have some kind of business goals, who actually go after their goals, and then those who stick with them and achieve them are even lower than that. Right. So the thing is with goals is that, sure, goals are a good thing to have because they give us, you know, an aim, they give us a direction that we, you know, it sets us on a path. But what most people aren't aware of is that goals create, the minute you have a goal, they create a very strong negative emotional charge subconsciously, which really prevents us from not only achieving our goal, but also from going after it, so from taking action. So let me explain why this happens.
Give me an example of that too, when you can.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what happens is, so you've got to go, right? So the first thing that happens is that, again, you want to be there. You don't want to be here. Yeah. Right. So immediately it creates some level of subconscious resistance towards the here and now. And it puts you in a state of tension, you know, some level of tension, whether you are aware of it or not, you know, some level of dissatisfaction, you know, or some level of, oh, I have to, you know, that kind of feeling. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you're kind of in not always, but often we are also in a state of resistance towards taking action towards the goal. So I just want to be there. I don't want to do all these things, you know, and take all these steps that I need to do in order to get there. I just want to be there. So that's another form of resistance. Then there's also the subconscious focus on the wanting of the goal. So when you're focused on wanting, I want this, the message you're actually sending your mind on a subconscious level is a message of lack, of not having, because you're not going to be wanting something that you already have. So the more you're focused on it, the more you say, I want, and this also goes, I'll come to that again in a second, but in terms of affirmations and visualizations and things like that people often work with, but they focus on it too much because they focus on it so much that they're creating more and more subconsciously a feeling of lack, and therefore they're actually experiencing more frustration and actually acting more out of this feeling of lack. And this creates kind of this vicious cycle where then they kind of, you know, leech on even more so to the affirmation or visualization because they feel they need to do it more, you know. And so it just creates more lack, basically. And then another element is that you you have an attachment to achievement of the goal. So you feel that either your well-being or your happiness or your self-worth is attached to whether you
reliant on it. When I lose weight, when I give up drinking, when I do whatever, then I'll be happy. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not just the happiness. It really is also this self-worth thing that is really strong for many people, again, whether they're aware of it or not. So what happens is that on a subconscious level, we're actually pushing the goal away from us because it's not making us feel good, right? We don't want our happiness or self-worth or anything to be dependent on it. And the truth is it's not. But it's one of the lies that our mind is kind of telling us in order to kind of, keep drama going, because that's what the mind is. It likes drama. So this is, part of the thing. So this is already quite a huge subconscious negative charge that we have around it. Now, on top of that, there's also another element where we kind of tend to focus on the external goal of what we want to get or achieve, but we forget to think about the internal goal, because that would require achieving a goal. And especially if it's a big goal, then it will require some kind of internal change. We are going to be a different person, the one who achieved that goal already, that future successful self, right? It's a different person to who we are now, at least, on some level. Of course, we only want to bring out in ourselves who we already are and who we can potentially become. But an internal change is required, right? But we tend to not focus on that. So the thing is that, again, subconsciously, we're not in a state of kind of allowing and welcoming that future version of ourselves. And even more so, we create even more resistance around that. And this is because, first of all, there might be lots of subconscious fears around it. Around, what I need to do to become this person, and, what if things don't work out, and this and that and whatever. There's also, of course, lots of lack of self-belief, or maybe contradicting, limiting beliefs around that.
And even who would I be if I didn't have to pursue this anymore? Like,
exactly.
It's kind of like, what's left once I achieve this? Well, then what do I do?
Exactly, because again, we're so attached to our past self and to our limitations and to where we are, even though we consciously think, oh yes, I want that goal. But do you really? Are you really ready to let your past self go and be somebody else? Right?
And that's exactly it. Sorry. It's about being very addicted to yourself. It's addicted to who you are right now. And not knowing, because you've never been that other person. You've never been that other person that's finished that goal. So it's a bit of that fear of unknown, because you don't know who you're going to be once you achieve it.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. And this is why I was saying before, when I was thinking, many years ago, what happened if I lost my memory? It was a really disturbing thought to me, really disturbing. Because on the one hand, it was, wow, freedom, I can be whoever I want and whatever I want. But on the other hand, like, it was terrifying, because how can that be that there is no set me,
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's also kind of very often on a subconscious level, it's almost like we're waiting for permission, for someone or for something to be allowed to have that success or to be that person. And then on top of all that, that's not it yet. So on top of all that, there's also more pressure. So there's pressure coming from two directions in regards to our future self. So one is the pressure that we put on the future self, because we want her to be here and present herself right now, right? So we're putting pressure on her, but we also feel that she is putting pressure on us, to become her. So again, it's kind of like the subconscious relationship that we have with her. Again, whether we are aware of it or not, the relationship is there. And in most cases, strangely, we have an unhealthy relationship with our future self.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah. So again, we tend to have this kind of push-pull relationship with our goals. And that means usually that we're simply stuck. That we don't take action.
Part of that, from my learnings or whatever, and just say if you agree, is that we don't step up into that, as you say, because we're kind of thinking, if I lost my memory or whatever. But all those memories are also holding us back, because we've been programmed to not step into that. We've been programmed to stay as we are. We've been programmed to be fearful of what is not familiar. So going outside, we kind of go that much outside our comfort zone, and then we come back in quite often. But it's getting out to an outer circle even further that actually makes the difference. That's where the lucky band, if you like, stretches and stretches until it breaks. But it takes time. It's never an overnight unless you literally wake up and you've lost your memory. I love that thing, because it's like, what would happen? Who would I be? Would I still be Carmel? And the answer is, I don't know, because I've often said to my clients, if you cut me open here, you'll find blood, guts, lungs, whatever. I'm sure a fair bit of fat, but that's okay. But you'll never find Carmel in here. So what is Carmel made up of? What is Maya made up of, other than beliefs, thoughts, experiences that we hold on to that make us who we are?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you just said, we are absolutely conditioned to believe in this personality that we think we are. We think that who we are is the accumulation of our stories.
Yeah.
When we don't actually realize that they are just stories. And sure, they're part of your experience, but your experience is wide open if you want it to be to other stories.
1,000,000%. Yeah. So I think we could talk about this forever, because I think I'd love to. And one of the best books, I've recommended it 100 times, it's not an affiliation or anything like that, is Embracing the Cells, which is based on that voice dialogue as a modality. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it talks about all different selves. And I use the metaphor for...
What is it called again? Sorry? Embracing the self.
Embracing ourselves.
Ourselves.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it.
And I just liken the metaphor of having a big, huge choir. And it's like, I've got all these selves. They just don't all have to talk at the same time. But each voice is respected and needed. And they are an accumulation of who we needed to be, whatever. So we have developed all these selves, a pusher, a critic, or whatever it is. So, there's a big orchestra behind us. So, yes, we could delve into it. But tell me, so with all of that in mind, and that's great. Thank you so much for putting that in there, that programming, and that we could lose our memory and actually decide to be somewhere else, lose the stories, lose the attachment to it. So what can we do instead to make those, and I'm going to use the term lightly, to make those goals successful, or those aims, or those whatever we want to call them? How can we actually achieve that and get to where we want to go?
So first of all, like I mentioned before, and I'm sure lots of your viewers are already using things like visualizations and affirmations and things like that. The important thing to remember with those, like I said, we don't want to create a sense of strong attachment to them, or focusing on subconscious, focusing on the lack of having it. So in regards to that specifically, yes, it is very powerful, and words and images are the language of the mind, and it very much it is very, very useful. But the missing key here is really the letting go of them. So you want to set your goals out in that way, but then you really want to let it go. Now, of course, I use the Sedona method, which is a very easy, practical tool to just drop things and let things go. But for now, if you don't have that, I would really just work on. For me, before I ever discovered this, and I was using visualizations and affirmations and things like that, and within my self-hypnosis, for me, the key that kind of really made things happen was a sense of trust that it would happen. It's the knowing, right? It's not the hoping. Hoping doesn't work, right? So you need to work on the knowing that it's going to happen. And in a way, that's a natural way of letting go. Because if I know that it's going to happen, I can just send out my message. I can put my visualization out there, affirmation out there, once in the morning, 5 minutes, done. I don't need to do any more than that, right? It doesn't work to do it 100, 1,000 times a day. It can even be counterproductive. So that's one thing. You really need to just work on that trust. Now, that means that you also have to become really self-aware in the way that you need to identify any blocks. So you need to identify any conflicting beliefs that you have. And you have to work on those. Because if you do have conflicting beliefs subconsciously, they will win. Beliefs always win, right? They drive absolutely everything that you think, feel, and do as a result. So you really have to identify that. You really have to identify any fears you have around it, and work on that in whatever way is right for you, really. Another thing that
sorry to interrupt. So having vision board, we've all done vision board workshops and things like that. And a very dear friend of mine does them. So if I'm writing what you're saying, it's good to do those things. And I have one of mine on my screen, but it's kind of there as in, I trust that is happening. I'm on my way. I'm always on my way, and the universe is working for me, not against me. So that may not be achieved tomorrow. It could be 12 years from now. I don't know, but I do know that if I don't have that, I have no navigation, and I'll just plod along and do whatever. So is that the way you see it?
Yeah, it has to be in the knowing. And another good point that you just raised is it may happen in 12 years. I don't know. So this is another thing that people put a lot of pressure on themselves, or say they use SMART goals. Sometimes, I'm sure that you know SMART goals. I don't like SMART goals at all. No, I find them really boring, and also not really useful in many cases. And one of the things that it tells you to do is to put a time frame on it, right? A time limit. I'm going to achieve this by that time. But the thing is that we have to allow ourselves to be open, right? To be open to life.
And some flexibility in it too.
Exactly. So sure, it's good to aim towards somewhere, but you must allow yourself to be open, because life has its ways, right? Yes. And it may be very possible that we will be getting what we need, but not in the form that specifically, or not in the time, and maybe not in the exact way that we decided we need to get it.
And it's very important not to label that as failure.
Exactly. That was exactly the next thing that I was going to say, that when people do that, then when they don't achieve it, and within the time frame that they've set, and they said, oh my God, I failed. And then, it makes, pushes them even further back from the goal. So it's really, it's really important to allow that openness. I recently, published this, had a feature in Brains magazine, and this is, and I actually wrote about why SMART goals are boring and why you should choose awesome goals instead. And I mean, that would be too long for now, but there's and this is one of the things that I was talking about there. Another thing is that you really want it to be also a good comparison that just reminded me of, if you think about, say, you mentioned in the beginning something about I think exercise or something like that, or New Year's resolutions, and this is one of the things that many people come up with. Oh, this year, yes, I'm going to exercise 5 mornings a week, and I'm going to get fit and do this and that. And so this kind of goal, again, because it has so much emotional attachment to it, that how many of us actually stick to it? Right. But if you compare that to, say, brushing your teeth in the morning, which is also 100% purposeful, there is an aim, but, there's no emotional attachment to it. So how easy is it for us to just get up in the morning and we brush our teeth and that's it? And it's just an automatic habit, right? We pay no attention to it whatsoever. We just get up and we do. And this is how easy your goals can be, just as easy as brushing your teeth, when you let go of that emotional attachment. So this is what it's all about. So I would say this is like the big key. This is the big thing, to let go of the attachment. So it's kind of like, yes, I'm striving towards where I want to go, but I'm also in full acceptance of where I am. And this is the best place to be in.
Yes. Because I'm on the way. And I think I quite often share with my clients, it's like, there's no shortage of ideas, first and foremost, in business or anything. People keep saying, that's a good idea. That's it. Like, yeah, I get it. There's a million ideas. But it starts with a thought. Everything starts with a thought, and then you take some action. And then when you take some action, you get a result. That's what you're going to get, some kind of result. And this, I think, is where most people fall down. To me, you get a result, and it's either effective or ineffective to the outcome you want. But most people say it's a success or a failure.
Okay. Yeah.
And they stop and they say, I'll try that, I'm never doing it again. Whereas I go, it's effective or ineffective. If it's ineffective, what do I need to learn? What do I need to tweak? Do I need to get somebody to support me? If it's effective, I go, oh, happy days, I'll just keep doing it and just refine it. when you take away that word failure, and then you get some support, you get some help, you do a course, do some learning, whatever it is, then you take action again and the cycle just begins.
Mm.
And I think, as you said earlier about the words and the images that really just go in there, they pop in there, and we go, yeah, that goes into that box. Yeah, that goes into that box. And failure is a word that we use a lot.
Mm. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's a huge need for, reframing failure, as you said, and it's all about what you're describing is, what we call the growth mindset, which is absolutely something that we need to have, because everything from the second we're born, our whole life experience is a learning experience. Right?
Yeah.
It's all about learning. It's all about growth. It's all about improving and developing, and but this is, again, one of the things that we're conditioned to, as we start growing up, that things have to work out and things have to turn
You have to
out
be
the way that
successful.
we
You have to
intended
marry
them.
or have your kids, or you have to have your career, or you have to have this. Yeah.
Yeah,
And sometimes
exactly.
it's living somebody else's goals.
Where the what? Sorry?
Sometimes it's living somebody else's goals, your parents' goals, or
Absolutely.
something like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another thing that's on the awesome goals list, is really to be clear on that they are yours and that they have to fit your values, because if you're not, you're living somebody else's life, like this imaginary person, and it's never, ever, ever going to fulfill you, even if you've achieved those goals. I speak to so many women who are, now wanting to run their own business or set up something of their own. All their lives they have achieved success, in other, job roles, or, high level corporate jobs, whatever it might be, but it was never their goal, and they realized this, especially now after lockdowns and the pandemic and all this, where people are kind of really sort of reevaluating what they're doing with their lives.
Oh, absolutely. And I would even tell you that I fell into, my background was hospitality, started as a waitress, blah, blah, blah. But then I worked my way up I actually had my partner say to me one time, I said something about all those corporate people. He goes, Carmel, you are corporate. Just, because to me, I had just been promoted, because that was it was easy to me, but it was never my intention. It was just that I could connect with people, blah, 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 until you get that aha moment and go, what the bloody hell am I doing? Why am I earning millions for somebody else and not for myself? But the big thing is that we have developed a worker self in that environment. We haven't necessarily developed an entrepreneur self, because we haven't learned how to do that. So that's then the whole change that we have to go through to do that. So it's fascinating to get through that change. We know something's wrong when there's the discomfort there, but we don't always know what it is. I mean, mindset is a word I never use at all. And the reason I don't use it is because a very dear friend of mine, a mentor, told me many, many years ago, he said, if you think about it, mind is what the brain does, just like breathe is what the lung does. And set, and he went into the whole etymology of the words as well. Well, do you want your mind to be set, or do you actually want it to be open and flexible? And ever since then, I've never used mindset. I went, oh, that's kind of right. Yeah, I don't want it to be, I don't want my mind to be set. Because even if it's set in a growth mindset, what opportunity are you missing because you're set in that way? So, I'm not saying
okay, I've never heard that interpretation before.
I know.
I didn't either. Mind setting. What is your setting like?
Yeah, I know. And I kind of went, oh, and then, you can never say it again. That's what happens when we learn new stuff. So when people have heard you talking today and they go, oh, I never thought of it like that. You can't unknow that. They may not take it on board. They may not take some of your insights and your tips that you've shared on board and do anything about it. That's okay. But they can't unknow that they've heard it.
Yes.
Which I think is very, very powerful. And it takes about 10 or 11, or I don't know how many people to say it when you finally go, oh, yeah. And you start doing it and go, my God, I told you that 10 years ago, but that's okay. Isn't that what happens? So if we were to shorten and to put it into 3 main points of how to achieve those goals, like quite succinctly, how would you put that into just 3 main points to help people that might be hearing this kind of information for the first time?
Right. So first of all, so number one, to start with, first of all, you have to get absolutely 100% crystal clear about what your goals are. And again, make sure that they are aligned with you and with your real values. You're not doing this for anybody else.
Yeah, love that.
So that's number one. Number two is to become really aware and really check in with yourself and identify and really write down, this really helps. Write down any kind of negative blockages around it, because you have to work on them. These can be the fears around it. These can be the doubts. These can be conflicting beliefs, identifications with past failures, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Like, what are you afraid of will happen if you do achieve this? And what are you afraid of?
Fear of success.
If you don't.
Fear of success, absolutely, as well as fear of failure. So you have to be aware of those, because if you don't deal with them, they will eat at your goals subconsciously, and they will make things very difficult. You will be in constant kind of inner battle, again, whether you're aware of it or not. It's just going to keep you in a state of inaction or taking the wrong action.
Yeah.
Right. So that's number two. And number three, like I said, and this is something that you may have tools for, or you may want to look it up, how, in what ways you can do that. But absolutely, you must let go of the attachment to the goals. And for me, I truly believe that this is key. And I see this, thousands and thousands of times, with people I work with, that once they lose the attachment, then suddenly they feel light, they feel easy about it. And that's the best way to go out and do what you need to do.
And I love that, because that's so true. Once you kind of let go of it, and you actually become more productive. That's what I found. When you stop, and even on a day-to-day basis, when you stop going, I have to do this, it's like you go with ease. You set yourself up, but you do it with ease. Everything seems to happen, and you get more productive because you're not holding on to all this other palaver.
Well, exactly, because the inner state causes, it brings out the external situation. So as you say, if you go into it with ease, things happen with ease. That's really as simple as that.
Awesome. I love that. And I think, as I said, we could talk. It's 43 minutes already. We could talk for so long about it, but it's been amazing. So I'm just going to pop up. So if somebody wanted to get hold of you, Maya, what's the best way for them to do it? So I'm going to pop up. Is it your LinkedIn?
Yeah. So yes, you can get in touch with me through LinkedIn. So that's just there, and also on Instagram. Thanks for that. And also you can go onto my website. So my website is easy to remember. Oops, I'm running out. 1 second. Near disaster. Battery running out. 1 second before this ends. So my website is very easy to remember. It's youcandoanything.co.uk. And you can check more about my work there. And also you can, of course, get in touch with me through my website. So you can do anything.
Okay. I'm trying to put it up really quick and be very efficient while we're here.
There we go. Yes.
Yay! Carmel is a non-techie person. There you go. That was my catchphrase. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know the steps to do that. I'm not techie. That was
and there you did it.
And now I'm such a techie person. It's just funny. It's so funny.
I know. Me too. I actually built my this website. I did it on my own during the first lockdown when I had more time on my hands. And I was like, oh my God.
You're a lot more techie than me. I don't think I'm that far. But I can go in and edit the website. But to build it, I have a very beautiful friend that helps me with that. Thank goodness. Can you do that? But I know what you mean. And the pride of it, because that old self was saying you couldn't do it.
Yeah. And I'm super proud of this website as well. I think it's a great website.
Absolutely. I love it. And it's so funny, just getting back to videos and things like that. Earlier today, I actually I am pretty excited about a new course that's coming up. But I made a video on my phone with a brand new app. I went and put it on social media, and I went, oh my God, I couldn't do that a few years ago, but there you go. Okay, so Maya, we're going to say goodbye for now, but it's been amazing to have you, and thank you for sharing your journey, your insights, and your wisdom with myself. I've learned a lot as well, and of course anyone that is watching this. So a huge thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So guys, again, if you're watching this on social media, make sure that you hit us a like, or you ask any question you'd like an answer to underneath, and myself or Maya get back to you. And if you are watching it on YouTube, remember to hit that subscribe button. We're getting up there with the numbers to build this channel to be of even more value to you. So for now, it's bye from me.
Bye.